Next time you pass by a gas station, pick up a bottle of Chevron Techron. Check its price. It ranges anywhere from $4 to $9 for the concentrated formula. Keep that figure in mind. The liquid in that unassuming plastic bottle is precisely why BMW's top engineers flew to California in the early 1980s. They spent years working with Chevron's chemical specialists to tackle a silent problem that was quietly destroying fuel-injected engines worldwide. That chemical is called polyetheramine, or PEA for short. Yet it sat quietly on the bottom shelves of auto parts stores, often next to pine-scented air fresheners, overlooked by anyone not aware of the secret. Here is the dilemma that sparked it all. The year is 1977. Automakers were abandoning carburetors and introducing fuel injection on a large scale. Manufacturers in Japan and Europe were excited because electronic fuel injection offered unmatched precision. It could adjust for altitude, adapt to engine temperatures, and reduce wasted gasoline. However, a few years into this revolution, BMW's engineers faced a frustrating discovery. The new fuel injectors were clogging. This wasn't about visible debris. The contamination was microscopic. A modern fuel injector has a tiny nozzle, usually between 100 and 200 microns wide, about the width of a few human hairs. Its role is to spray gasoline into a fine vapor just before ignition. Gasoline itself is not a single pure substance. It's a complex mix of hydrocarbons, carrier fluids, trace elements, and basic detergents. When vaporized, it leaves behind a microscopic residue. The extreme heat of the engine cooks this film, forming hard carbon deposits on the delicate injector tip. Over thousands of miles, these deposits warp the fuel spray. Instead of a perfect mist of atomized gasoline, the spray becomes uneven, like a misaligned squirt gun. Some areas of the combustion chamber flood with fuel, while others remain dry. The car's computer compensates, fuel efficiency drops, emissions rise, and power delivery becomes inconsistent. The decline is gradual, almost invisible, eroding performance month by month. BMW understood how these carbon layers formed but lacked a chemical capable of removing them while preserving surrounding components. That is why they turned to Chevron. Their collaboration is exactly where polyetheramine entered the story. To understand why PEA works where countless other additives fail, a bit of chemistry is necessary. Gasoline detergents have existed since the 1950s. Early versions acted like industrial dish soap, with one end attracted to water and the other to oil. They could reduce new buildup, but could not remove hardened carbon. Worse, under high intake manifold temperatures, these detergents burned away and left their own residue, creating intake valve deposits. By 1995, the EPA had intervened, mandating cleaning standards, but it did not specify which chemicals to use, leaving the most effective agents optional. PEA is an amine functionalized polyether. Simply put, it has a flexible backbone of oxygen and carbon atoms capped by an active amine group. This amine attacks and breaks the acidic bonds holding hardened carbon together. The polyether backbone allows the molecule to dissolve fully in gasoline. When it contacts baked-on deposits, it doesn't just erode the surface. It chemically severs the bonds attaching carbon to metal. The residue softens, and fuel pressure flushes it into the combustion chamber. The injector is restored to factory specifications without aggressive scrubbing or harsh solvents that could damage seals. This precise restoration was not just claimed by marketers. It was confirmed by independent testing from the Society of Automotive Engineers. The Society of Automotive Engineers published data showing that restoring an injector's spray pattern to its original shape significantly improves fuel atomization. Better atomization leads to a cleaner, more efficient burn, resulting in a real-world fuel economy. Improvement of 1 to 3%. That may seem modest, but if you go through 13 or 14 gallons each week, the savings quickly add up. A few dollars spent on a bottle delivers benefits for the entire tank. The calculation is straightforward, yet here is the secret no one admits. The story does not end with the chemistry. If this substance is so effective, why hasn't your mechanic ever mentioned it? Why didn't the dealership suggest it during your last service? Why have most people never heard the word polyetheramine? There is no conspiracy, just basic economics. Understanding the financial side is more crucial than the chemical side because it determines what products are promoted to consumers and what remains hidden. Polyetheramine is a commodity. Chevron developed it, but they could not secure a patent preventing competitors from making the same formula. Today, multiple brands produce it cheaply at scale. That is the fatal flaw for marketing. A generic, unpatented liquid that has existed for 3 decades and retails for $5 to $9 does not generate the high profit margins needed for extravagant advertising. Compare that to a professional fuel injection flush at a service center. Technicians use shiny machines, branded shop liquids, and charge anywhere from $80 to $200. That service is highly profitable. The auto repair industry is incentivized to sell the expensive flush rather than the inexpensive bottle. The $5 solution is not suppressed by a shadowy cabal. It is simply overlooked because service advisors have weekly sales targets. A plastic bottle from a convenience store does not keep the lights on in a repair bay. This brings us back to Honda and Toyota. The proof that polyethylamine works did not come from a marketing brochure. It came from the two most demanding, reliable mass-market automakers when they endorsed the top-tier gasoline standard. In 2004, major manufacturers like GM, BMW, Honda, and Toyota united because they were dissatisfied with the EPA's low minimum requirements. They created a voluntary certification requiring gas stations to pump significantly higher quality detergents into their fuel. To earn the top-tier label, a station's gasoline had to pass strict tests, keeping both intake valves and fuel injectors clean. In real-world chemical engineering, the only additive consistently meeting these benchmarks is based on polyethylamine. Toyota and Honda manuals explicitly instruct owners to use top-tier fuel. They do not name the chemical, but what they are insisting on is polyethylamine, the same formula Chevron and BMW developed decades ago, available for a few dollars at the gas station. Consider three real-world drivers. The first owns a 2010 Toyota Camry with 180,000 km on the dash. Mechanically, the engine is perfect with solid compression and no oil consumption, but fuel efficiency has fallen from the factory 8.5 liters per 100 km to over 10 liters per 100 km. The owner replaced the oxygen sensor, installed new spark plugs, and swapped the air filter. Nothing restored gas mileage. The injectors have never been serviced. Over 180,000 km. The injectors fired roughly 900 million times, leaving a microscopic layer of carbon on the nozzles with each cycle. The spray pattern is distorted. Adding a full dose of a polyethylamine-based cleaner like Chevron Techron, Bloom Out All-in-One, or an equivalent into the tank for 3 consecutive fill-ups, followed by a maintenance dose every 8,000 km, is a proven method to correct this issue. Independent SAE testing confirms spray geometry visibly recovers within 1 to 3 tanks on moderately dirty engines. For a Camry with this history, moderate buildup is nearly certain, unless the owner has always used top-tier gasoline. Driver number 2 owns a 2019 Volkswagen Golf with a turbocharged direct injection engine. In a GDI system, fuel is injected directly into the combustion chamber, bypassing intake valves. Polyethylamine in the gas cannot wash over these valves, so carbon still accumulates from PCV system oil vapors. However, the Golf's injectors are still prone to clogging, and polyethylamine will dissolve the crust on those tips. For this owner, polyethylamine is essential maintenance for injectors. Intake valve deposits require a separate solution, such as walnut blasting or a direct chemical spray, which will be discussed in a later video. Knowing what polyethylamine can and cannot do depending on engine architecture separates informed car owners from those spending money on unnecessary shop services while ignoring a $4 miracle in a bottle. The third driver owns a 2006 Honda Civic that has always run on the cheapest pumped gasoline. No top-tier fuel, no additives, just standard oil changes. The injectors have never been serviced. The car starts and goes from point A to point B, but sluggishness develops over 50,000 km. That sluggishness becomes pronounced by 200,000 km on bargain gas. Dirty injectors are certain, not a possibility. Fortunately, the Civic uses conventional port injection, so the polyethylamine hits the injectors at maximum chemical strength. A major warning: avoid ester-based cleaners containing polybutylene or PIB. PIB chemistry is different and can create sticky buildup on intake valves if overused. PIB is not a substitute for polyethylamine. Always read the back label. Also, avoid injector cleaners that hide active ingredients. If the chemistry is concealed, the solution is likely weak and ineffective. This is why meticulous engineers at Toyota and Honda insist this exact chemical goes into customer fuel tanks. It is not marketing hype. It is dictated by data. There exists a Japanese maintenance guide, 20 pages long, detailing this chemical process along with 6 other inexpensive maintenance interventions your local garage likely never mentioned. It explains coolant chemistry, 7 driving habits that reduce wear, and hidden car features rarely used. Print it and keep it in your glove box. Please leave your thoughts about this content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.